Welcome to episode 9 of the Comedy Defect podcast. My name's Winter Phonander. I'm the host of the show. I'm a comedian. I'm trying to get the comedy life balance back in order. Over the last 5 or 6 years, it's been out of whack big time. So I had my first class of Shotokan karate in about maybe 3 or 4 years. It was great. I really enjoyed it. But after the class, one of the other students came up to me and he said, "Were you in Halfords recently?" I said, "I was in Halfords." And I was remembering back when the last time I was in Halfords, I had a fat tyre on my car and I couldn't take the wheel off because I didn't have the nut. It was a second-hand car, so I didn't have all the bits. I couldn't get the nut off, so I went to... no pun intended. I couldn't get the wheel off, basically. But I went to Halfords trying to find a socket for this particular wheel. Halfords didn't have it, but I had to go back twice that day. I had to walk there 1.5 miles because my car was in a shop. They didn't have anything. And on the third time of going in there, I was on the edge. I was like Michael Douglas in Falling Down, about to just lose my mind. The guy that was in this karate class was looking for the keys to this cabinet, for the tool that I needed to take the wheel off, but he couldn't find the keys. And this is on the third time me going to Halfords. I was on the edge. So you got to really be careful. You got to really check your emotions sometimes, because you leave a lasting impression, and that is always going to be your first impression. I thought it was funny that the guy remembered how angry I must have looked at that moment when I just couldn't do anything. I was just filled with impotent rage. You never have a second chance to make a first impression, but he certainly remembered me. This episode was with a very good friend of mine, the character actor Mr. Fred Ferenczi. I've had many a great conversation with Fred on the way home in the car. This is just one of those conversations. Now we go really deep into the psychology of comedy. We went so deep that it became a little bit too personal for me, and I wasn't sure if I was going to release some of the segments of this podcast. But I thought, hey look, I'm just going to let it be what it is. So here it is in its entirety. Now if you want to donate to the podcast, you can find us on Patreon. Just go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast and donate as little or as much as you want. But if you can't kick back something to us, just leave us a nice review on Podbean or iTunes, because it really helps. I don't want to talk for too much longer, because this is a great episode. We really go deep with it, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. This is the amazing character act, Fred Ferenczi. So how you doing, Fred? You alright?
Oh yeah, I'm great. Really, really great. Suicidal, but...
Suicidal,
yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, so we'll start early then.
Yeah, let's have a counselling session.
So how do you feel today then?
No, I'm just a bit shell-shocked about the referendum, but I think a lot of people are really, so...
How did you vote? Did you vote in or out?
I voted Remain, but I think a lot of people that voted Leave are probably very upset as well, because I think they feel they've been misled. Anyway, It's a dangerous area, isn't it?
It's done now, isn't it? It's not really much. We can always, argue the toss really, but I mean, on the way into Aylesbury, all the vote Leave are still, all the posters are still up and stuff as well, aren't they?
Yeah, well, probably for the next referendum.
Think there's going to be another one?
Well, it could be, couldn't there?
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is not very funny, is it?
It's not funny yet.
No.
It doesn't have to be, though.
No. I did a podcast for someone else who shall remain nameless and never broadcast it. So that augurs well for this, doesn't it? Oh, it's funny then.
Oh, you were funny then?
I think it was too funny.
They didn't even broadcast it?
No, I think it was too funny. So that's why I'm not being funny now.
You're just trying to balance it out?
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You need to just even it off,
And then if you don't broadcast this, it's because there was no humour in it.
Well, so what happened if we did another one? Would you then be funny again? Is it just be like...
No, yeah, I can only see it's a sort of bipolar tendency.
How about we do 2 hours?
Yeah.
The first hour can be like totally not funny, and the second hour can we'll really salvage something, we'll like a phoenix rising from the ashes kind of thing, yeah?
And then the third hour you'll stay here and help me do the house.
Do the house. Are you going to come around to my house then as well?
Okay.
That'd be good. Been gigging recently or anything?
Did Hastings Comedy Festival weekend.
How was that?
Around. Well, it's their first run at the festival, and they put in a lot of hard work, and I would say it was successful. It's got great potential for the future. Loads of energy, beautiful set in the old town, good venues. There are issues, but then when you start out on this thing, you learn the hard way, and I'm offering some points for them. It was good. I was sort of ostensibly going to do a one-man show, and it really was never going to be a one-man show because it's got 3 people in it. But it was a sort of first step towards doing that, although I don't think I ever will really. I don't think people could abide, even sort of 40 minutes of Fred undiluted. So I always think there'd be a guest and an MC, because you need the contrast with Unless you're a brilliant anti-comedian like Ed Axel.
I'll just preface your character that you do, Fred Ferenczi. What is it exactly he does?
He's basically a shit magnet.
Right.
He's basically the nutter on the bus. I mean, he's harmless, but he's a bit sort of... You wouldn't want to sit next to him. You certainly wouldn't want to go out for a drink with him. And he should never be within 100 miles of a stand-up mic, basically. That's Fred. And, of course, the difficulty with that is that it requires you to be good at doing it. Else, instead of being as if you're a shit comedian, you come across as a shit comedian, and then you actually do become one, because you depend on the audience going with it, and you depend on you having a lot of energy, which is the paradox of a low energy act. You can't do it when you're tired, hungry, and hungover. I've tried many times, and drunk. It doesn't work. You've got to put you've got to be really up for it to be able to sustain it. So that's Fred, really.
Sort of imposing the character or will of the character on the audience, sort of thing, without appearing not to.
Absolutely. So they can suspend disbelief and go with it. Also, go with the irony of it. Really, it's if you've got a sort of audience collectively who've kind of got an irony bypass, maybe because they're very tired and hot and drunk. It's nearly impossible to go with it. Also, ideally you need, it's not always the case actually, it can work with small audiences, but by and large, if you've got a bigger audience, then for an act that's going to be a bit Marmite, you can have a critical mass of people there that get it. And if you've got 2 or 3 people that really get it, are crying, I don't know if laughter or despair, but it sort of takes the rest with them. And so if you've got sort of 60% of the room, then the rest will go with it. You can be derailed by, you probably can't if you're a better stand-up than me, but you can deal with it. But you can be derailed by a real hater, because it does tread a fine line, really. It does draw on some sort of rather difficult stuff. It can evoke some very strong feelings, and you can get people that don't like what I do, because I reference sort of emotional stroke, mental health problems, really. It all comes from a place inside of me. It's not taking the piss, but I can understand when people think, oh, he's someone taking the piss out of people that have got particular problems. Although, and I'm waffling on, and I'm going to have a breath in a minute. That's better. I've found that people that work with people with, say, special needs, or work with people with mental health problems, and I've had a lot of them. Had one on Saturday came up to me and said how much he liked it, and that means a huge amount to me. And I've had this a lot. Strangely enough, it's audiences have got it that I'm actually referencing something inside myself, and I'm not taking the piss. It's a very sympathetic character, and he's not threatening. It's people that perhaps have known someone that got similar problems to what I've had in the past, and you can understand if they interpret it in a different way.
It's kind of like you're pulling out that emotion, that one part of yourself, and you're sort of magnifying it, isn't it? So it becomes very... Yes. You're very sensitive to that character. On stage, it could be derailed very easily, because that is part of you. I mean, even with doing straight stand-up, that is part of you. They're your jokes, but you're hiding behind jokes. Yeah. Whereas if you're doing a character that is actually part of you, and you're fully connected with it, it's way more risky, if you like.
Definitely,
you risk self an awful lot more if someone is really going to hate it, because it can derail. Right, you can't really go to another joke or another through line, which is part of the character, because part of you, isn't it? Showing the raw you, the inside of you. Different emotions when you take them on stage as a character, or say part of you, which everyone assumes is a persona, which is also another form of character, I guess. But when you do a low energy act and a high energy act, the stakes are exactly the same, because you need that energy to give the thing momentum, and then you can get derailed so easily, and the tipping over thing causes the audience to hate you anyway if you go beyond their threshold of understanding. So when you see like a low energy act miss the mark or get derailed, the illusion is broken, isn't it? And then we really struggle then from that point on, because then the end of your set, you're limping towards the end of the set because the magic is gone, and they're seeing that it's real, and they go, oh God, we don't really like this real thing. This is actually part of them rather than the show. It's difficult one to ride the edge if you get tripped up. Whereas with like a natural stand up, you can just, okay, well, you don't like that joke, I've got this other thing here for you. Let's just sit back and relax. You have to really ride the horse to the end of the line, really, no matter if it's going to a wall or not, or off a cliff. So how long have you been doing the character then, Fred?
Well, I've been doing stand up for 5 years. Almost to the day, because I did it through the Tringe Comedy Festival, and they did a free training course, very kindly provided, training provided by Logan Murray, who's a bit of a comedy god, and I'm a bit in love with him, really. Speaking to him this morning, and I think I woke him up. Anyway,
you're not the first person to say that. He's more of a friend rather than a mentor. Or Logan, can you fix this for me? Yeah, sure. He'll come round today later. I was talking to Peter Ford, and he was saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah. So the character developed when I first started, because I'm a man of a certain age. I thought I kind of had to do things like about my imaginary wife. I've got a real wife, but an imaginary wife. Things like sexual dysfunction, things about being the age I was then, my mid-50s. And unless you're really, really good at it, like Peter Ford, who you just mentioned, is extremely good at doing an older man act. Well, he is an older man, nearly 70.
Yeah.
And his stuff about little old ladies. And he has made it his own. But unless you're really, really good at that, and I'm sure there are people on the circuit that do it brilliantly, doing cruise ships and things, I don't think it was that good, really, and I don't know where Fred developed from that, really, to be honest. No, and I can't say when, but it was about a year into it, really, and I can't really remember. But I think it probably comes from a more authentic place, which sounds a bit poncy.
No, it's a truthful place, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and audiences are extraordinarily clever. The kind of psychodynamics of the sort of collective mind, they kind of know things that they don't know, and they know it doesn't matter whether it's whatever type of stand-up you are, they can sniff out authenticity and they can sniff out fake. So if you've got someone that is a brilliant actor doing a brilliant act and doing all the things and saying all the things that stand-up do, well, I suppose they can be very, very successful, but I'm not so sure about that. I think audiences know. Anyway, it sort of developed from that, really, and I've discovered, I've done a couple of clowning courses, and I've discovered over time that although I find the writing side really, really important, and I've really honed my material and really worked on it, the performance side of it has become very important. That's why I did Logan's course for the second time. I did exactly the same course about 10 months later, because my performance was really, really poor. And over time, the performance has really become a huge part of it. The shambolic nature, the slightly, I hate the word surreal, but there's things that Fred does, like get plastic forks out of his pocket halfway through a quote joke, which really kind of upsets the joke timing, the whole dynamics of it, because it's a distraction, and puts it in his other pocket. And that does or does not, depending on whether the audience are going with it, can get a huge laugh. And I don't know why, because people say, well, why'd you do that? And I said, well, I've no idea. And why'd you put string on your head and, start putting your jumper over the top of the mic so we can't hear you, or tying your shirt to the mic stand, or standing at an extremely awkward angle. Things like not looking at the audience. Well, I'm not looking at you, am I? I'm looking at the floor. Because I'm basically... it's a terrible cliche, isn't it? Terrible. I'm basically quite shy. I'm quite introverted. And I don't like audience interaction. I don't like mingling with audiences afterwards. And I know that sounds awful, but I find it... If I've done really badly, I want to curl up and die.
Yeah.
If I've done really well... I find people sort of praising me very difficult. Now, you know, I've been through therapy for many years. I'm not at the moment, so I know what that's all about. So we don't need to go there. But I find that really difficult, which is odd. But I know my own psychopathology inside out.
Yeah.
I find that all really difficult, and because it's such a high risk act. And Ed Axel said this to me when I've had really bad experiences, and they have been bad. He said, if you're doing a high risk act, you know, like we do, which is very complimentary to put me in his category, because he really is the best anti-comedian. He said, you know, the rewards are extraordinarily high in personal satisfaction from that kind of performance, because it is a performance, really.
Yeah.
But he said when it goes wrong, it's going to go badly wrong. And, you know, I sometimes make this joke now about, I've got Samaritans on speed dial. And I have, you know, gone back to my room after a bad gig, a really bad gig, and rang them up. You know, I'm not saying I've been suicidal, but I've been very upset. And I've had major panic attacks.
It's deeper, isn't it? It cuts deeper. It does cut deeper, for sure. As I was telling you before, I'm experimenting with anger now, and the pace that I go through it, sometimes you don't even wait for the laughter to come. You know it's going to come when you take a breath. You know, or they're with you, and you don't get the reassurance from the, okay, beat for laughter, beat for another laugh. And it's always like, okay, well, we're going to go through this, and hopefully when I take a breath or take just a little break, they might be on board and they'll laugh. Otherwise, this is going to be a long 20 minutes. You know. Yeah. Do you think that's the character came out of frustration with, as you said, seeing other acts do that observational stuff, or there's so many people doing that? It's going to be really hard to excel in that field.
Yeah.
Hey, look, let's just go inward. I mean, I found that the first couple of years, that when we going through it, you're going, because I saw you, I think, when I first started up again. I think that was in Veggie Box in Kent. That's it, Canterbury.
Yeah.
That's right. And I knew you were wearing your suit jacket. I think I was probably wearing a suit jacket as well at the time. And I was going through some old stuff, and I was trying to work it out. It wasn't great, but I was going through it, and I think that you realise you're just hitting a dead end. And if you don't progress in the first couple of years really quickly, you kind of go inward. You just go fully inward. Okay, what's going on in my brain or emotionally, and then you start pulling out what's inside, and then hopefully the thing is you don't become so esoteric that people will never get you. You know, well, this is the deep me. This is who I am inside. But the great thing is we're all similar, I guess. You know, similar fears and insecurities, and if you can find that one thread that can connect. And like you did with the low energy sort of schizophrenic act, everyone is a little bit, I think, you know, a little bit kind of to very, very varying degrees on the spectrum of that.
Of course so.
But, you know, it's just like being aware of it, isn't it? And just kind of highlighting or magnifying it to a greater or lesser degree. But so you think that's where it came, the frustration?
Yeah, I think whatever floats people's boats, you know, whatever they like. I'm not being critical, but I'm, you know, I suppose it really comes down to what makes me laugh, and not much really. But when I do laugh, you know, when I do see a comedy that I absolutely adore, like Tony Law or Paul Foot doing something a bit different, or what does she call herself, Candy Gigi?
Oh yes. She won the Malcolm Hardy Award, didn't she?
Yeah. You know, really more insane than Fred, and you know, really pushing it, and I think, you know, even if it all doesn't make me laugh, I think, Christ, this is good. Because it doesn't step over into that thing which you can see where it becomes so self-indulgent, so self-referential, and so sort of anxious to be, quotes, different, that it goes into a cul-de-sac, and it doesn't relate. You know, you'd think, well, how would something that's so bizarre as what some comedians do, how does it relate? And it must do. It must relate. You know, it must. You know, you see people when it works well, and believe me, when it doesn't work well, it's vile and horrible. I've just said about that. Yeah. So I'm not bigging myself up, but when it goes well, it goes incredibly well. And when you get 2 or 3 people laughing, or if you get, and it's generally a woman, I am used to women laughing at me. Yeah. Usually in bed. That's a bit trite, isn't it? And someone a few months ago, she was laughing so much and crying that she had to leave the room, and you could still hear her in the toilet. Yeah. And it sort of brought, and it wasn't a terrific gig actually, but I mean, in terms of the room and everything, and you know, number in the audience. And it was better than sex, really. Oh no, I shouldn't. No, my wife won't hear this. She hates comedy. She really hates it with a passion.
Does she come to see you?
Very rarely. You know, it's fantastic. I don't know why I'm saying that, apart from showing off, really.
No, I guess because it gets everyone on board and goes, oh, it's
yes,
okay.
Yes, it does. That's it. Gives them permission. By the same token, if you get a hater in the audience, which I had a really good paid gig, and they were on my side. I was winning it. And when she started hating me, and I couldn't see because there's brightly lit thing in my face, I couldn't see the audience, which I love. I don't like seeing the audience. And I just like to be in the zone of my own. And it was weird. I could sort of think, oh, that's funny. There's this sort of whole thing around her. Yeah. You know, there's a patch of people there around her that are not laughing anymore.
It's like a cancer of the audience, isn't it?
And that side went sort of quiet, and that side, I had a guy in the front, I can remember, I think he was one of the few black faces in there, and he was right in the front. He was laughing it. He was sort of on the point of tears, you know. He really loved it, and he was getting all those around him going. But then that side of the room stopped because it became very uncomfortable between me and her. And of course, it's that thing that you referred to earlier. I kind of broke character. They knew that I couldn't cope with it. There was no plan B.
But because it's high energy, even though it's low energy, and you're always put, because you're imposing that character on the audience, and you're putting so much into it. It's like a house of cards, isn't it? Really. Yeah. And you're there just going to put the last. Yeah, we're near the end, and then someone just goes. You're like, oh, I've just blown I've spent ages doing this, and it's so because it does, rather than it being, oh, it's fine, we'll just build this other thing here and we'll start again, because you can't start again. No. The momentum is completely, it takes the wind out of the sails, and it's going to be a lackluster thing for the end. You know how tenuous that grip on the audience is.
I'll tell you a footnote to that story. My friend, comedy slut Bob, he sort of calls himself my manager, although he doesn't manage me, but he kind of puts me on the, I'm not at the level where I'd have a manager, I never will be, but he's a very good friend. He's a very sensible guy, and he tells me, say thank you to the promoter, and just don't ignore people if they're being saying nice things to you. So he does sort of manage me a bit like that, as someone managing a child, really. And he was in the bar at the break because I was on early. I mean, the headliner was Marcel Lecomte, so it shows you what a good gig it was. It was in a proper theatre and everything, and I was getting paid. It was absolutely devastatingly painful, the whole thing. And he told me afterwards, when I'd calmed down a bit, he said I went to the bar and I was listening to that woman regaling her friends, and she was really happy that what she'd done. She was really ranting about me, real venom, toxic stuff. And she said, oh yes, and I did the same thing to Harry Hill. Now, my name and Harry Hill's will never be put in the same sentence ever again. All I'm saying is that woman, I think, had got problems. Now, Fred, the character or persona's got problems, so it's difficult to be critical about that. But it just shows you how powerful. What you're dealing with is some very powerful, forces, collective, unconscious forces, and you're dealing with them. There's no such thing as a stand-up comedian and an audience. There's no audience. Sounds like David Brent now, doesn't it? But what I'm saying is, I'm paraphrasing Winnicott, who's a famous paediatrician and child psychotherapist. He said, "There's no such thing as a baby. There's only a mother and a baby." And so, this is really pompous.
I get it. I get it.
What I'm saying is, it is a two-way thing, and you get.
It doesn't mean it's in isolation.
Yeah. So you get feedback from the audience, and it's a sort of loops, and you can get it going up and up, but it can spiral down as well. And there's all sorts of things going on. Like a brightly lit room, and where people perhaps know each other quite well and are reluctant to laugh, maybe because the comedy is, very rude or something. They don't want to be seen laughing in front of their friends. That's not an original thought. I probably stole it off Logan Murray because I keep reading his book. It's like a comedy god to me.
As you said, you really touched an emotion in her.
Yeah.
Either way, you hit something, a nerve. It triggered something in her that didn't take it the right way you wanted, but it still triggered something.
Yeah.
Same with Harry Hill. Isn't it strange how he did the same thing. Another character comic as well. She just does not like character comedy.
No, maybe.
It's
doesn't like clowns either.
Maybe something you don't know, isn't it?
You don't know.
What happens to these people? Maybe you get these awkward people in the audience though who just don't get it, and they don't want to get it, and they just don't want to get on board with it. I bet she didn't do that for Marcel Leconte, did she?
No, they love Marcel Leconte.
Maybe
because he's better than me by a large measure.
Marcel Leconte is an archetype of a Frenchman, isn't he?
Yes, that's right.
And that is a very safe enough character to lock into. He does it great. I'm not saying anything, but he's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's locked in. You're like, okay, fine, this is safe. We can laugh at this. Whereas the character that you're doing is on the edge. You know how people are hypersensitive about anything now to do with if it's like mental health or racist, and they're ready to pounce. You know, they're hypersensitive, maybe.
Maybe, but to be fair, it may also be that that could be true. But it may also be that it triggered something in her. I mean, I trained as a psychotherapist and qualified, but I don't practice because I worked with a guy, one of my first clients. And he had very, very serious depression, and I don't think I was, probably needed psychiatric help. But anyway, I worked with him over a period of about 20 weeks. He got better. There was a lot of issues with his mother, but then don't we all have? And but there was a lot of stuff in his background that resonated extraordinarily strongly with mine. And over the period of time, he got better and I got worse. He used to talk about, what if your therapist killed themselves and things. And anyway, the work came to an end. He was a lot better, which was, very satisfying and pleasing. And I'm not saying, as a miracle cure, there never is for these things, it's life. But I sort of had a breakdown. I had to sort of leave my course. I was going to do a master's next. But you see, that's an example of something that was triggered in me. So, this woman getting really upset and angry, perhaps it had triggered something that's so raw within her, or maybe someone that she knows, that it was just unbearable for her. And I've had clubs that won't have me back. Luton University won't have me back because they thought I was taking the piss out of mental health issues. There's a very, very good club, proper comedy club, you know what I mean, what that.
Yeah.
I contacted them, I said, would you remember me? I did a 5-minute open spot a couple of years and, could I come back and perhaps do a 10? Yeah. And they said, oh yeah, we remember you, all right. We had long discussions afterwards. We'd never ever have you back. You upset one of my friends there, whose brother or something or other.
Even taking the performance out of it, it's like when you meet somebody and you don't get on with them for some reason, for no reason, you just go, I don't like that person.
Yeah.
Maybe you're seeing something in them that reflects your own personality.
Yeah, of course. There's massive projection and introjection and all sorts of complex stuff going on.
Take a look at self before you dismiss this person and go, maybe I need to work on me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I find.
It's like people you see on Facebook. What a toxic and dangerous place that can be. People projecting and all sorts of stuff. People that time after time say, oh, I'm in this pub and I'm surrounded by idiots and they're a bunch of morons and here's some more window lickers and everything, everywhere they go and every place they're at, it's a very negative kind of experiencing of the world. And that is how they genuinely see it, and they see people, got a very old friend, you can see a young person in a hat or something and he'll be somehow offended that they're trying to, I don't know, and it's all the time. And I think to these people, and they're putting this stuff all out there, and I think, what is the common denominator in all these situations and with all these people that you're encountering? 99% are total strangers who you know nothing about. What is the common factor in these situations? Well, it's you, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's you. If you were I'm a Buddhist, I'm not a very good one, as my wife constantly reminds me. I'm not. But, imagine a sort of a very good religious person or very good secular person, doesn't matter. And you see them, they go around life and they see the good in people and they see sort of promise, an extreme situation. What was his name? He was a psychotherapist. He wrote about fairy tales. And he was I think he was in Auschwitz and survived it. Right. And even there, he was thinking about, the beauty of fairy tales and music and things. And you think, wow, there were people like that. Back to the comedy in an audience, you've got people with all this different baggage.
They bring their own experiences to the thing, and hopefully you're trying to connect with them through those different experiences.
Yeah, and provide something of a cathartic experience for them.
But with Brexit, there's certain areas that voted in and out.
Yeah.
And I think that the problem with politics is it's a democracy, and it's all trying to use one system to help the entire country. And everyone has different needs, and it doesn't matter where you're from. We've got different cultures, different people. We're all humans, sure, but we've all got different upbringings, and therefore one rule isn't going to fit all of these people that live in one place. And there's always people going to be annoyed. And the last few years, everyone's trying to give everyone equal rights, and that is great, equal rights for everyone. But everyone's got different needs, and we're all trying to be brainwashed into thinking we're all the same. But we're not all the same. We've all got different needs and wants, and which all should be addressed. But everyone's trying to blanket everything out by taking certain language out. Some of it's inflammatory. There's a lot of it that needs to be really addressed and looked at rather than just forgotten about. But the quickest thing is to generalise. Go, no, blanket that out. We're not doing that. Because it's just causing problems.
Yeah, but I think it's more complex than that. I think that's why you've got to distinguish between equal opportunities, which is basically saying these are the basic minimum rights and standards that people should expect from life, and have protected, irrespective of gender, ethnicity, disability, etc. But then beyond that, it's actually saying, and let's, going beyond that sort of what you call sort of putting it all on one level thing. But it's actually, that's the basic standard, that's the hygiene standard, that's the minimum. But then, this is what diversity is or should be about. It's actually enjoying difference, and embracing it and seeing what people can give from their different experiences. And with comedy, isn't it excellent that now you've got people like Francesca Martinez and Tim Renko. What's that young guy?
Joshua Robertson.
Yeah, of course, Josh. I mean, it's bloody wonderful. And, they're comedians, stand-ups first and foremost. And, of course, they reference their disabilities in different ways. And I know a brilliant transgender comedian, Shelley Bridgman, and she has to reference the fact that she's transgender. Then she goes on and does her stuff because they have to reference it and then move on. It's great. And this sounds terribly patronising, doesn't it? But I think with the mental, people who've got a physical disability, Christ almighty, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's out there, isn't it? If you've got a mental health background with, problems, which I have, 3 breakdowns, one of them schizophrenic when I was 21 at university, panic attacks, depression, real clinical depression I'm talking about here. And you try and do an act like Fred, who isn't presented like that. He really is just, just a bit of a shit making it really, and a man with a few problems. But even so, but drawing on sort of, more serious issues in a way that are under the surface, it's not visible, is it? Except for the fact that as Fred, I dress up. Well, I'm not particularly smart anyway, but I do dress up in deliberately, raggedy clothes with the buttons done up wrong, and my hair all over the place. So I'm kind of signaling this man's a bit of a mess. But beyond that, you can't say, and also the mental health stuff which I'm referencing, or that's kind of implicit in this, or the emotional problem, is coming from you can't stop things and say, well, just explain to you that this is all coming from a real place, and I'm not being obviously you can't do that. Although interestingly, so what I'm saying is you have to hope and respect the audience that they've got the kind of intellectual or emotional intelligence, probably more emotional, isn't it, to understand at some level that this isn't, to quote, taking the piss.
Yeah.
Interestingly, saying about breaking character, I found as I've got more confident, because you have to have a huge amount of confidence to do a character that's totally lacking in confidence, is that I can break character, which I thought you could never do. Now, I don't mean in a kind of, in a reactive way, I was finding myself ad-libbing, and then I'm doing a little voice. We know the people that do this, of course it's not that original now I think about it, but I kind of say, stop ad-libbing, Fred, and while doing it more in my own voice, that doesn't work, and that gets a huge laugh.
Yeah.
Now people kind of know, I'm sort of giving a nod. I'm saying, please still go with Fred, but I'm just giving a nod, and even at the end sometimes, because I have this, it's really, really crass, isn't it? I have this bandage with it's a trick nail with blood on it, and I take that off, I say, that's pretend anyway, and I'm really married. And you think, that's risky, isn't it? But kind of people, we're not idiots. We know it was an act. And like heckling, people always ask about heckling, don't they? Oh, you're the bravest person I know. No, I think you're the braver person than me. You're a firefighter. You're going to burning buildings, like my son-in-law. Oh, I could never do that. You're brave. Well, it's not really. It's a kind of idiocy, isn't it? And it's a kind of real showing off, and it's getting the love that your mother never gave you. Certainly my mother never did. Anyway, with hecklers, most of them, again, this is Logan Murray, not me, most of them want to join in. And the most of them want to join in a quite good way. So I've had to deal with that. I probably can't deal with violent heckling. There's no plan B. And people can't deal with violence, really. And I'm talking about not physical, but, I say things like, it's no good heckling me, I don't do audience participation, I'm barely participating myself here. Things like that. It's very self-deprecatory. Or, I'm being... it's very weak, it's deliberately weak, because Fred... and defensive, but it's all part of the character, so you're doing it, but you are diffusing that.
Yeah, it's Tai Chi, isn't it? Really?
And sometimes, and more often than not it works, because people think, because he can't do audience reaction, this character, so there's no point in me carrying on.
Just you're bending it. I will take that and use it and make me even more vulnerable. Is it?
Yeah. But isn't there a difference between sort of the audience pitying the character, but in a sort of playful kind of way, going with it, oh God, he's even more pitiful than we thought, and laughing and thinking, we shouldn't really be laughing, and real pity. I think I'd rather have real naked hatred of me than pity. When you see people looking at you in the audience with pity and they're embarrassed for you, and you think, I'd rather you hate me, spit at me, but don't feel sorry for me.
That's it, because you can be strong in your resolve. If they hate you, it's like, fine, no.
Yeah, you just carry on to the bitter end, don't you?
That's it.
And all you've walked away with is you've carried on. That's the only thing you can do. That's the only thing you can. And again, it's not original. Probably none of this is actually. You could probably find it all in other people's books and blogs, whatever they are, and podcasts, which I never listen to.
Yeah, I don't think
anyone talking now.
Sorry, I don't think anyone's going to heckle us, so we're okay. Don't have to heckle yourself, Fred.
Now,
it's like you're just saying that when someone heckles you and it can be quite combative. That you've got to just remember where everyone's coming from a different place, and the only thing is that people bring their own experiences to the gig, and you've got to be aware of those.
Yeah.
And if they do start to hate you, well, better than sympathy. I mean, well, of course, we don't want to be felt sorry for. We want them to enjoy themselves and laugh at the character and take joy in the abstract world that you've presented to them.
Yeah.
And it's just very difficult. I think it's very difficult if you are a different character and you are an original character, pioneering that character, because it's not an archetype or just a well-trodden trope of, like I say, maybe a vicar or a priest or something like this, which is there's quite a few of them out there,
There are,
and it's really not really a character; it's part of you.
It's a persona.
Yeah, it's a persona. So it's just more risk. It's more risk. You take it home with you. I mean, even when your first lot of gigs, you still take the bad gigs home with you. And you go, I'll just rewrite that joke. You're like, how can I rewrite my personality? It's not going to work. Oh God, this is terrible. I'm stuck with this. So as I'm telling you earlier, I do a bit about my name now, and it's we're all trying to find something to blame or our situation on, or why we are like we are. What the reason for that.
That's why this referendum thing, and I include people that voted leave and perhaps now are not so sure whether they should have done for different reasons. That was a very articulate woman on Radio 5 Live this morning, and she was, incandescent with fury about it. She said Boris lied and lied and lied, and she was very articulate, older female, And for whatever reasons, and the problem is what we're experiencing now collectively, and it's resonating around Europe and the world and so forth, is a massive loss, right? One way or another, we've lost whatever the world was like before the referendum. We're never going to recapture. Really, whatever happens, however this pans out, and I think it could pan out really badly. And I feel extraordinarily sad for younger people, and almost ashamed, really, even though I voted Remain. But the problem is, and this is my point, and I do sometimes eventually get to it, is that this resonates extraordinarily strongly with all the past losses. This is what happens. This is why real full-blown grief is so painful. Every single loss resonates back, right back to birth. And I know this is all very Freudian, but I'm quite an orthodox Freudian, really, which is a bit boring and way out of favour at the moment. But it's a basic truism anyway. One loss reminds us of another. I tell you, I've been dreaming about the last 2 nights. And I usually have really great dreams, really weird. But these have been very sort of realistic dreams, and they've been about my mum dying of cancer, which she did do. They're incredibly realistic. They're set in all the real places, and they're incredibly sad. Now, so this, I feel, has all been evoked by the referendum thing. It's stirred up a lot. That's just stirred up in me, and I can analyse my own, psychology and what's going on there. Lucky for me. But what I'm saying is, if that's happening to me, and I can only experience myself, certain people are experiencing all sorts of things for this referendum. A lot of it is being expressed sort of publicly, and it's unleashed a lot of stuff, and people are hurting, people are in denial. I'm in denial. I'm sort of grasping to this thing that people are saying, well, my idea is, and I'm sort of contacting QCs about it, is the referendum unlawful? Is it challengeable in law by judicial review because people were hoodwinked? But it's denial. We're in the very early stages of grief, and we were chatting about this before, weren't we, earlier, before the podcast? Are they, all the stages, the denial, the anger, and we're really in very, very early stages, and I cannot see us reaching a sort of a reconciliation with it, a sort of coming to peace with it, or a sort of a new adjustment to something that's extraordinarily different. And it's immensely unsettling. Things are never going to be the same again, and people are hurting. And I include, and people are worried, and I include everybody, There's certain people I'm not talking to at the moment because I just cannot face those conversations because, it's going to be very painful, and I'm angry, and I don't want that to come between relationships.
Just the political views. Everyone has a reason for voting in or out.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate thing is, there was the way that it was publicised and politicised. There was more reasons to vote out than there was to stay in.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that either one was better than the other, but I think that with the way that they politicised all of the reason, the pros and cons, it's no wonder that people voted out.
Yeah, of course it is.
Because there was more reasons to go out, but when the funny thing was that when Cameron resigned, it was like, why did everyone vote out? Well, look at what the media have been doing for the God knows how long. This is not just the last 6 months or a year.
No,
this is years. It's been brilliant. It's been brilliant. Brainwashed, isn't it? It's like, and so he's thinking, he was surprised. Okay, right. So we've been herded with fear towards one direction for so long, and then you're expecting us to go in the opposite direction when you want us to. All the lemmings are running off the cliff, and you're like, no, guys, let's go the other way, okay?
Yeah,
it's too late.
Come back.
It's too, exactly. Guys, don't go that way. We want you to go this way. This is much better. Yeah. No, it's all too late.
There's a great cartoon going around on social media, and it's someone jumping out of the plane, an aeroplane, and it's sort of indicated that that's a sort of metaphor for leaving Europe, you know. So I can't remember how the plane's labelled up, but it's clear that the person is leaving the EU, and this is a kind of pictorial image of that. And they're saying, do you need a parachute? And the guy's got a Union flag. He says, no, I'm going to rely on this.
That's going to save me.
It's a brilliant cartoon, because that is the level.
Yeah.
You know, one of these people that I can't approach yet. They won't listen to this anyway. Basically voted out, you know, under the pressure of all of that, because a lot of it was sort of legitimised, you know. To put it mildly, and it's xenophobia, you know, let's put it mildly. And it was more than that. And the people that I don't want to talk to at the moment, they will actually be gleeful and be saying things like the taxi driver said at Hastings. And if I was a better and stronger man, I would have got out the taxi, but I needed to get back to do my show. He was saying about how happy everyone was in the country. Well done, England. Now we can get rid of the P-A, you know, the rest of the word. Yeah. The derogatory word for people from the Indian subcontinent. And cockroaches. Right. And people feel that they have now got the licence to say these kind of things.
That's it. There's a lot of people like, you know, we can make Britain again. It just feels Trump-esque, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it does, yeah. And I can remember Britain in the 1970s. You know, it was a very sort of broken down kind of place, you know, and it was hard, you know, there was no, you know, my dad worked in a factory and my mum sort of cleaned and things, and we lived in a council house, and it was hard, it was really hard, and it was dirty, everywhere was dirty, and, you know, the smoking thing, you know, which people are beginning to forget about, filth on the streets and trains and things, racism, well, it was called racialism back then, wasn't it? But it's been forgotten, but it was sort of embedded. It was sort of so much part and parcel of the society we lived in. I grew up with kids that, and I probably did it myself, you know, these jokes, you know, it's just part and parcel of everyday life. And I grew up in a white, you know, rural village, and it was all part and parcel of it, you know. And you saw it on television with comedians. You know, I think the default of growing up in that time, if you were white British, and my mum's half Jewish, you know, you don't need to go far back to find Irish, etc., 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 like everybody. And the default was sort of racism. And when I sort of became 11 and 12 and started not to become racist, I was seen as some kind of weird maverick. And even in more recent years, I mean, I'm not saying it's all got better and gone away, you know, pub that I know and I used to love, you know, even there I'm like the token maverick liberal. Oh, you can't say those kind of jokes in front of P, because that's my real name. And there were notices on people's windows: no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. You know, it wasn't some kind of golden land. You know, and you know, people, you know, the health service, you know, it's improved so much.
The fear mongering that's been going on has created this. They didn't realise how volatile the fear that they were injecting into people's minds was going to poison the unity of the European Union. And so it was like, well, and now they're going to have a problem getting rid of it now, because they're like, okay, right, we're cut off, and so now we can really work on our issues with other races and things like that. That's the people that think that anyway. It's quite dangerous, really, isn't it? They're like, okay, well, they think that this is the start of something that is going to cure all their ills and their other problems with other cultures and stuff. But it's not that. And that's been injected into them, saying this is the immigrants. So, okay, well, we're all immigrants, so that's the problem, you know. And they don't see that.
One of my oldest friends, you know, I've got a sort of small circle of, you know, real friends, go back to primary school. His mum's German and his dad was Polish. Well, his mum died recently, a very old lady. She escaped from Bohemia, which Hitler marched into, you know, what was then Czechoslovakia. And she escaped Bohemia when the Red Army marched in 1945 with her sister. Got knocked up by this Polish guy. I mean, the marriage didn't last long. His dad, the Polish guy, was very prescient. He saw this coming, you know, and he was an ambulance driver. He joined the unions. He supported Harold Wilson. He was very upset about Rivers of Blood speech. So, a Polish guy. The mum was an unreconstructed Nazi to her dying day. and I don't use that word in a sort of light sense. She was, and I mentioned this at. I did a speech for my friend at, what was that for? His 60th birthday. Someone did a speech, so I stood up and did 15-minute set. Basically, it wasn't a set. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy showing off. I'm a big show off, and I started doing all this stuff about, you know, his mum being, and his sister was there over from France. She's married to a Frenchman. You know, about his mum being a Nazi and all this sort of thing. And you know what? Liz approached me afterwards and said, "I'm so pleased you said that." She said, "I never realised." She said, "Of course I did realise." Now, my point is, my friend's mum spoke, John said, all her life about people who were the other, like in a similar way as the way people feel or certain people feel they've now got licence to do. When you see comedians, people that you love, in a quite healthy way, young, black, Asian and Muslim and etc., and I expect it's going to happen to people, I forget the acronym, LBGT, whatever it is, saying, can we travel together, can we form some kind of group to protect ourselves, you think, shit. And I know it's, you know, I don't want to get hysterical and hyperbolic about it and start making analogies with the Third Reich, but, you know, there's some very, very nasty forces unleashed. Bringing it back to the comedy, which, you know, is a great way of sort of just sticking your head in the sand. I'm hoping out of this, one type of comedy that I absolutely adore and would never ever attempt in a million years, because I think this really is the bravest, is sort of satire, you know. And there is a bit of a resurgence, isn't there? Chris Coltrane, Josie Long, there's a young guy I know called Elliot Wengler, very much at, you know, the beginning stage, but very clever, very political. And, you know, like back to the good old days of That Was the Week That Was, and Frost, and, you know, the golden age of satire. Will Franken, you know, different political perspective, but, you know, still got something very interesting to say and to listen to. Maybe that's a silver lining.
It's going to give us an axe to grind, you know.
80s comedy as well. Ben Elton, when it was Ben Elton, you know, about Mrs. Thatch and so forth.
But you find that you're saying you're a show off, right?
Terrible extrovert.
But at home you're an introvert. Yeah.
I'm very needy. I need love. Yeah. Really, I need love, and that's why I do it. And I want people to love me. That's, you know, I'm not doing it for the money, because I don't get paid much when I do get paid, and I spend much more on it than I can afford. But, you know, what's the alternative? Am I going to start an allotment, or I think the alternative for me would probably to drink myself to death, really. You know, what do you do? It's an existential thing, isn't it? What are you going to do with your life? You know? Yeah. I've left it too late to become anything successful. Although, you know, if I'm honest, I would like a bit of, I mean, my hope is, my ambition is, I mean, I get a lot of pleasure vicariously from younger people that I'm seeing being very successful, like Miranda Kane, Eureka Katani, Jolly Bow, you know, Josh, who I've only met once or twice. You know, people that you know are going to be, and I get pleasure from that, but I also get pleasure in a purely selfish, non-altruistic way from, you know, like I did a little bit, I did Miranda's now recording a sitcom for radio.
Great.
Called Slaving Away, based on her experience as a sex worker. And she wrote a little part for me. I mean, partly I suspect because she likes me, but, you know, she would have only done it if she thought I was good enough to do it. So there's a small part in that. And I'll get a huge buzz from hearing that if I don't know when it's being broadcast. And I will, and it will rub my ego, you know.
What's the name of it?
Slaving Away.
Slaving Away, right, great.
And it's bloody funny, and she's got some immensely talented and quite well known, very well known people in it. So it's a great ego boost, you know. I am in it for that, really, as well. But it's a kind of it gives a purpose, you know. Like a lot of comedians, you know. And then again, it's another cliche, but a lot of comedians have got serious emotional, stroke mental health problems, got a lot of needs, got a lot of quotes issues and such. And I, you know, I do suffer from depression quite badly, and I've been treated for it for many, many years. But do you know, however shit, even now about the referendum, and I'm really, really, really hacked off and upset about it, I'm sort of kind of thinking, when's my next gig?
Yeah.
And I've got my little diary here, which I keep losing. And when it approaches, I'll be sort of thinking, you know, doing a double act thing. You know, Bonja, our good friend.
Yeah.
We're doing a double thing. Well, we're splitting an hour. The Croydon Comedy Festival.
Great.
Friday the 22nd, Project B's, 7:45 p.m. called Splitting into the Wind.
Oh, yeah?
Because we're both sort of schizo characters, so that's, I thought it's quite a clever title. It gives me, I think, Christ, I've got something to look forward to, you know? And I'm going to get a buzz. It's probably what people get from hard drugs, which I've never done. I've never done soft drugs. I just do beer.
Having a connection with a room full of people is an amazing rush, isn't it? Really.
It is.
And if you're a very introverted person anyway, it's going to be even more so.
Yeah.
And I think that the more you go through the mill of comedy, you become more introverted anyway because you're obsessed with it, you know, and you have other stuff to do in your life as well, and then the rest of the stuff is pushed out, so it just becomes hopefully, you know, your family a little bit, and then comedy just sort of seems to eat into that time as well.
It does.
All comics have a tendency to be obsessive anyway, and then it's like, because it's like a drug anyway, and massive addiction, you're constantly having to feed it, so you just end up, if you don't have mental problems or you have a slight tendency towards it, you're becoming isolated and borderline agoraphobic. So maybe when you do go on stage and then you try to come off stage and people try to talk to you, it's a little bit more jarring, you know.
Because I was thinking about that. We spoke about it earlier before the podcast. You know, talking about impersonating these emotions like anger, like being a bit of an idiot, or being an angry person, being a prejudiced person. You know, and audiences can tell the difference between the real emotion and an act. You know, they know what it is, and as soon as you were saying about tipping over from faux anger, manufactured anger into real, is it? Because when you start to manufacture an emotion in yourself, you know, again, it's one of these like sort of pseudo self-help things, isn't it? Oh, if you're feeling sad, smile, and if you start smiling, you feel happy. You know, it's all simple stuff really. And if you start to think angry quotes, you know, as a kind of mode of thought, it must be incredibly hard to get out of it.
I found that sometimes people, if they're emceeing or something, I'll sit back in the audience. This is a very small room. You're just trying some stuff out in, and they'll try and talk to you, and you're still in the mode. I can't communicate now. There's nothing that's going to come out of my mouth that's going to be good right in a second. Really need to take yourself off stage, go away, splash some water in your face, smile. These little things, obvious things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go, all right. But then, you know, yourself, you enjoy, if you're feeling something, you're feeling it. And so you're like, oh, great, I'm actually feeling something. I have a feeling today. I'm actually feeling angry. I'm passionate about something. I might not have felt something that strongly for days, and now it's all happening. So you enjoy the rage, or you enjoy the misery, the wallowing, and the depression, and you go, oh, fantastic! This is it. I'm safe here because I know this.
It is a very safe space, isn't it? Which is a remarkable thing. It's like I was saying, having the spotlight in my face, which actually, when you listen back to that, you think, well, that's a contradiction, because you said you couldn't see anybody, and then you were pointing out people that you could see. But I do like it. I could see him if I I feel like I should explain that. I could see him if I kind of really looked. Yeah. But I like it just being in the zone, the spotlight in my face. I know it sounds weird, but when it's going well, it feels incredibly safe, you know? It feels really safe. Yeah. I used to go down to my pub when I had one of my breakdowns and I couldn't drink for a year, and people used to say to me, how on earth, because it's a real hard drinking pub, you know, a proper pub, and how can you come in here and drink Diet Coke or something? And I said, I just like being here, I feel safe. I don't know if they got it or not really. But it's one of the few places, and my home, obviously, where I felt safe. And I couldn't explain what I mean by safe.
So when people heckle you in your safe place, it's like, this is my safe place, you don't understand. This is where you're messing this up. You're messing up my safe place. This is my happy time.
This is my time.
It's an interesting dynamic mentally. isn't it? For each of those high energy emotions.
And I think that's where the danger comes of, alcoholism and drug abuse being quite so high in comedy. It certainly was historically. I think people have got a more professional approach to it now. In fact, it's sort of almost a bit puritanical. But I will have a pint before I go on if I want to, because I'm a grown-up. Perhaps I shouldn't, but I certainly don't drink a lot. But I tell you when I do feel like drinking, it's when I come off. Not when it's gone badly, and like I've explained, it goes horrendously badly sometimes. Horrifically. But when it goes well, it does go well, I've got to be honest. And the temptation to drink is extraordinarily high, and I do have to resist it. And I don't know what that's about. It's partly the buzz is so... I think it's probably a chemical thing. You've got all these endorphins and adrenaline, and you're on a high and you don't want to stop. And I have to do something. If I come home, if I don't have a few beers... Because I don't drive, you see, so that's a kind of advantage and a disadvantage. I often get stranded in places. I've slept in gardens and nearly been arrested. But I come home now and however much I'm tired, I will just watch crap on TV for an hour or two and eat sweets.
Have you noticed in yourself that since doing comedy, you've become more obsessive in other things as well? Or just the comedy?
No, what like?
Like, I mean, I think I have a tendency to, like, I've got to say, I have to finish everything, right? That's my thing, I have to finish it. Doesn't matter what it is, I have to do it to the end.
So like this podcast, I have to say I really can't go on anymore.
That really made me very anxious.
Would it?
I'm terrible for it. I really am,
Really?
Fred. I'm just. It's one of my things. It's like my girlfriend. She's always like, Winter, like, you just need to just have a break, just relax, just do this thing here. And it's like I know I must finish everything, and like I have a list, and I'll need to try and do it. But I'm getting better at kind of allowing.
You like that with a book? So you start a book,
yes,
like Foucault's Pendulum, and you would stick with it to the end.
I can't give up on it. I'm like at the moment.
Are you in therapy at all?
No, not yet.
You should be. I think there was something in the past that you couldn't finish, and
maybe
to find out what that was. Something unresolved there.
I think there's a few things. Yeah, you buy books, and I had like maybe 6-7 books, and they start to pile up, and people are giving me books as well. And I'm like, right, I'm going to read I read all the books, but I've got one book left, which is the Guinness Encyclopedia, which I'm going to read. I'm going to read that. That's one of them on my list.
God, I thought I was messed up.
And it's an old version as well. It's an old version.
Yeah.
I think it's 1999. But I think it's my stepfather. He read that book, right? So I want to. I read all the books that he gave me, so I want to read that book as well.
Right.
I don't know how much knowledge I'm going to glean from it, but it's one of those. It's the last book I think that I need to read.
So he read it, so you've got to.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
What do you think that's all about?
Approval. Definitely, but he's not alive anymore, so it doesn't make
doesn't make any difference.
It's interesting. Huh? Same with people, shows people tell you to watch. I'm like, right, okay, I've got a list. Now, Fred, you should see the list. It's a massive list. I've got 5 left. I'm nearly there. I don't know. I'm not going to put anything else on it now, but I'm nearly there. It's the end of that is in sight. But
what if you had a kind of bucket list and you were on your deathbed and you've got 2 more things to do? That would make for a very painful and.
If I was on my deathbed, it wouldn't kill me, would it? It wouldn't be the list that killed me.
No, but it could make you feel very uncomfortable, couldn't it?
If it's beyond my control, that's okay.
Yeah.
If I kind of go, oh well, I can't do it now.
It's a kind of another rule that you've made for yourself. See, because I've got OCD as well. Well, who hasn't? And I've had it since university, and it sometimes gets out of control. But I kind of. My wife has never ever mentioned it, so I must have it under pretty good control. But I think she knows I have it, and it's touching things and it's numbers and that. But I have this self-imposed rule, which is part of it. I've enmeshed it in the OCD as part of the rule. And the rule is that you can't do any of your OCD things, like I do this.
Right, yeah.
And I've got to do that now.
Yeah.
I don't do anything like that in front of anyone because they could think I was crazy, Right. Or say I've got a thing about 3, and so it could be about looking at something 3 times. I couldn't do it with a person, because that would be going beyond what's. So I can do, I could do sort of like that, tap me thing 3 times, So you sort of kind of work with it to control it.
The thing is, what I do is if I can't do it through no fault of my own, that is okay. I've got to go, okay, it's fine. But before, that's in the last few years I've been with my girlfriend, because she's gone, look, you need to just sort this out. Because I get quite angry, but not directed at her. I just be like sitting there in this fog, just of anger, because I've been thwarted in the thing that I needed to do, because that was what made me who I was. I get things done. Doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to finish it. And then the list of that, this you're saying, the bucket list. I've done all the things I wanted to do on my bucket list. As I say, my girlfriend has kind of got me into that mode of going, look, you okay? You can't do it now. Like, and I think it's getting older as well.
Yeah. Because what it is you're fearing something, and there is a fear, it's an unconscious fear, and so you're protecting yourself against it. It's called a sort of manic defence against depressive anxiety. So you're kind of you're defending yourself. These things work. That's the problem with all these things, that they work. They have a kind of a secondary benefit. They have a lot of downside. Depression obviously does, but they are protecting you against something. And it's generally a thought or an idea, and it's something that's unthinkable. So you don't think it. I mean, it's literally unthinkable. So it's something in your past that the fear is of something actually that's already happened. It's too late. That thing has happened, but it's the fear of it. And by playing out these rituals, you can get it right. It's why it will come right this time, but of course it never does. And it's like breakdown. So a lot of people have a terrible fear of breakdown. If they have got this terrible, neurotic fear of breakdown, real anxiety about it, that means it's already happened, and it may have happened. There's been some stoppage in moving forward. It may have been with the care between the mother and the baby. There was a gap between, the mother being there and not being there. Them being fed and not being fed. Something broke. Something happened there. There was a breakdown. That's what it was. And then anything like I was talking about grief and loss. Anything that reminds you of that original trauma resonates. And if you can, this is the trick, and I've been in therapy for many, many years, been with Jungians and Freudians and even a bit of CBT, and I still haven't resolved it. There's no magic. I'm not saying all this stuff, is any magic wand, but that's what it's all about, I think. A lot of people disagree with me very strongly.
I think personally, I think that I read a lot of philosophy and stuff as well, like Lao Tzu and like the Art of War. Lots of things that lots of people have read as well. But also read Michael de Montesquieu and like his thoughts on the world, and like some things like he read a book, and every time you pick up a book, it's like you reading it for the first time, because you are a different person every time you come to that book. That sort of thing is, he was alive in, I think it was 17 or 1600s, and he still thought the same as the way we think now. And it's like it's nice to connect that people. It's not new. It's all the same. We're all kind of just trying to work out what is going on. It hasn't really changed or altered that much. We're still kind of a little bit lost. But I think that for me, with the finishing stuff, is a fear of failure. That's what I think it is for me. That is the fear that I won't get it. This next thing will be the cure to make me impervious to failure, but it won't. But it's that chasing that the knowledge or the information that I feel that I might be lacking is what it is. So, Fred, when your next gig is in Croydon Comedy Festival, is that right?
Well remembered. Friday the 22nd, a place called Plan B.
Friday the 22nd.
Which is ironical, because we were talking about having no Plan B.
Plan B.
There's no Plan B. Which is a kind of metaphor for the world we're in, isn't it? 7:45, splitting into the wind.
Splitting into the wind, 7:45.
A banjo. President of Banjo.
And Fred Ferenczi for the Croydon Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And the name of the show again is Splitting into the Wind.
Yeah. It is. Oh no, before that.
Oh, got another one.
I'm doing, how could I forget? I'm running a comedy tent at Citadel Festival in London.
Whereabouts? Victoria Park.
Sunday the 17th. And we got, I've got Dane Baptiste headlining.
Oh, great.
And I've got Sajida Kershi, Yuriko Katani, Filthy Phil Alexander. I wish I hadn't started naming everyone, because I can't remember everyone now.
Well, you see on the...
Yeah, it's all on the website. Yeah, it's Underbelly has also got a tent, so it's totally separate from that. This is Citadel Presents Comedy.
Great.
So I'm there.
Brilliant. Citadel presents comedy, and when is that?
That's part of the Citadel. I mean, Citadel is a big music and performance. Sigur Rós, Icelandic group, are headlining. It's a brilliant festival. It's run by the people who run Wilderness Festival, which I've also got a comedy tent at. And Sarah Pascoe's headlining that, although I didn't get her, they got her. And I got Alfie Moore. And for both of those, I've got Ronnie Rigsby. Do you know Ronnie Rigsby?
No.
He's the creation of Logan Murray. He's the
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, he does. It's brilliant MC fabulous character. Yeah, Ronnie Rigsby, MC in both.
That'd be great. That's
How could I forget? Wilderness is in August, but anyway.
August and August.
Yeah.
Oh well, Fred, thanks for coming on the show.
That's all
we
right.
enjoyed it. We went deep and
We did. It was a bit of a
good.
therapy session. And, you know, I'll be invoicing you later. Well, you can invoice me.
We'll break even.
We'll break even.
I'll try and time it, see how many minutes we do for each of us, right?
Yeah, okay, if you could, break it down.
That'd be nice. But thanks for coming on the show.
That's why I've enjoyed it, as much as I enjoyed anything, really. In life.
It's all meaningless.
It's all meaningless, we're all going to die.
And that was Fred Ferenczi on episode 9. I love talking to Fred. We talked enough for 2 podcasts. Fred is honest, open, loves his comedy, a great act. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like it, share it, tell your friends. Go see him live. It's definitely something that you won't have seen before. The next episode is episode 10 with the very bearded, the mostly musical, the incredibly prolific Mr. Filthy Phil Alexander. He's a very funny guy. Some people say musical comedy is cheating, but hey, you know what, right? He does it just for the applause. I really enjoy talking to him. If you want to donate to the podcast, you can find us on Patreon. Just go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast and donate as little or as much as you want. But if you can't donate and you want to kick something back to us, just go onto Podbean or iTunes, leave us a nice review, or even share it with your friends. We're on Twitter at The Comedy Defect. I'm on Twitter at WinterPhoneander. If you want to come see me live, you can see my gig dates on the website, which is winterphoneander.com, for all of my live stand-up gig dates. Now, I'm taking some time off between the 28th of August until the 13th of September because I'm getting married. But I say, we've got episode 10 coming up with Mr. Filthy Phil Alexander. You're going to love that. Phil's a great guy, very funny comic. And that's all from us, and we'll see you next time on the Comedy Defect Podcast.